Welcome to the Vision Seed Podcast, where we gather in the dark beneath the soil within the luminous void from which all creation blooms. Without our sense of sight, we explore the alchemy of the creative process through intimate conversations with artists and visionaries. Together, we embrace the mystery and infinite potential of the unknown. This is a space to honor the whisper of inspiration and the dance within the blackness that births creative magic. Let's journey into the void. In this episode, I sit down with Ren Langer. Ren is a Seattle-based theater artist currently pursuing an MFA in directing. As a former scientist turned educator turned artist, they pull artistic inspiration from a multitude of experiences, ranging from producing all-femme comedy shows, leading multi-week wilderness trips, facilitating workshops, and directing theater for youth and community. They're impassioned by collaborative methods of devising original performance. I hope you love this episode, and let me know what you think. Amazing. So, Ren, as we sit here in the dark, allow your attention to embrace the area in your body that is the most sensate in this moment. And then to ask that area if it has anything to share, whether it's a color, a texture, form, a sound. And when you're ready, you can share it with me.
That's what my chest wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted a grunt.
A grunt.
A grunt.
A grunt of the chest. Perfect. So I always just start with this question to reel us into the body. The last conversation I had on the podcast, when we put our eye masks on, we were both feeling truly how strange and unfamiliar the darkness really was. And it was this really interesting process of kind of feeling lost together in the abyss or in the void. What we're aiming for in this moment is to come here and to start to feel into the body as a map for talking about your creative journey. So we'll start in the root. And when we come to the root chakra, we're thinking about questions related to path and security and safety, of course. It's this beautiful red color and asks us to trace our history as creatives. So I'm curious when it was that you began to recognize yourself as an artist.
I recognized myself as a scientist first, and now I recognize that recognition as being an artist. Like the very thing that made me identify so strongly as being a scientist when I was a kid, like wanting to experiment with things and wanting to tinker, and I always wanted to create things. I was like, what if I took this and I mixed it together? Like, what would happen if I did this? Which now I see as a total act of creation. I'm like, oh, that is art. Art is experimentation. So I think it definitely started, like the root is of childhood, and I can trace it all the way back. I just didn't know that was linked to my artistry as a kid.
So did you find that like your desire to experiment was satisfied for a time by the scientific method, and then it reached a point where that was no longer satisfying?
Yeah, I remember science fair is like the most exciting thing as a kid because you got to pick whatever project you wanted, and that felt so creative to me and so liberating to me. So science was this portal for me into just this world of creation and the unknown, and it was like the pathway into the next frontier of darkness and shining light on it. And then yes, it became really constricting because once you get to college, there isn't this like loosey-goosey science fair. Everything's like really pretty regulated and has to be like repeatable, and all the variables have to be controlled for, and there's so much rigidity around the scientific method. So even though yes, it's also such a pathway to exploration, I wanted to experiment in a little bit more of a chaotic way.
Yeah.
And more of a collaborative way. and in a way where I didn't need to be recording numbers and repeating it the same way each time. Like, I wanted to constantly be iterating.
The way that I'm seeing this as you're sharing it is that you went from the scientific paradigm where there's a lot of containment and boxes and metrics and a structure. And then with shifting the experiment into the artistic realm, you're going into the unknown. And I'm curious, what was the condition that allowed you to feel safe stepping into that unknown of experimentation creatively versus scientifically?
I think trust in myself. I think I had proven to myself, like by my mid-20s, I had started to see the power of a fake it till you make it, really, and just like deciding to do something or be something and not knowing the way but doing it anyways, and how that allowed me to do so much. And I don't know if there was like a moment for me where I realized that I didn't have to be limited to science. I think it was just an accumulation of trust in myself that whatever leap I took, I could land it, and that I was going to be okay. And it's like wherever I went, I found people, whatever pursuit I put my energy towards, I could do it. I could rise to it. So then it just became this question of what's the thing I want to put my energy towards, and if I'm going to be putting forth this creative energy, do I want it to go to science or do I want it to go to making art?
Yeah.
And just the realization that like people do this and get paid for it. There are people that like write the movies. Like that to me is the most unattainable. Oh, imagine being like a screenwriter. Like how do you get to do that? But if anyone can do it, I certainly can do it if that's like what I wanted to put all my energy towards, which it isn't. I don't want to be a screenwriter, but I think you really do just have to make a decision about what it is you want to put all of the energy towards and go like full speed in that direction, and trust that like you've made it this far. You haven't died yet. If you're listening to this, you haven't died yet.
Can I hold your hand?
Yeah, where are you?
Yay!
Find me. Follow my voice.
Is there anybody out there? Wow. I think part of the reason I wanted to just reach for your hand is just because I feel just such an immense sense of, I feel safety as an artist knowing that you are audacious enough to speak the way that you speak about it. Like, it's almost like you pave the path by being so certain that it can be tread. You know what I mean? You continue to like push up the mountain and it gives me strength. I love that so much. Yeah.
I wanted to be a shark biologist. That was like the thing I wanted to do, and very few marine biologists actually get to scuba dive with sharks. That's not the majority of that line of work, but I know for a fact that like if I wanted to do that, I could have. Like there are people in this world that do that, and so that means it's available. Like it is a path that exists.
Okay, and so what right now feels like the soil that you're sinking your creative roots into? Like what is the nourishment right now for you?
The soil is people. The soil is community and connections and deep love and inspiration from people. I'm not a solo worker, and like my artistry is not one where I can or need to go into isolation to do the work. I'm not like a writer or a painter where I can just lock myself in a space and channel all the divine energy and just create something that create a masterpiece. I have to be in conversation with people, and that's the beauty of theater, that people are the medium. And so I get all my inspiration through people, and maybe an idea will come to me independently, but then as soon as I start like riffing that idea with someone who sees the worthiness and the excitement behind that idea, and then we just start being like, what if we did this with it, and then this, and then it just builds, and that is where that's the fertility of the soil doing its work.
Wow, it's like the biome, the soil microbiome richens and populates as you speak with another person, and it becomes more and more viable and more sunlight and more fertilization.
Like any collaboration I've done has always turned out better than anything I could have made on my own.
Wow. Can I say something? I feel a lot of actually like almost envy like when I look at that, because I think as a painter, I actually get so lonely. From time to time I will find myself like sitting with a painting for like hours on end and being like, I'm so lonely. I want to be in dialogue or in conversation, and I want to feel this idea growing with another person. But I know there's so many trade-offs, right? There's certainly something very magical about being able to drop into that portal of creating with yourself, with oneself. But I crave both. I would like to balance my painting practice with more art forms that involve others. I think that would be really healing.
Yeah, and it's funny because I experience some envy in terms of wishing I could work alone. The minute I'm alone, I'm the least productive person. I'm not even inspired anymore. Like, I will not progress the artistic work when I'm alone.
I think that we have something to teach one another then, in that sense. Yeah. I think that's really beautiful.
Actually, I don't know. As I say that, I'm like, that's not fully true. I can make art alone. I can't make theater alone. I can do text work alone. Like, I can analyze a play on my own, but actually bringing it onto its feet.
Yeah.
That is the part that you cannot do alone.
So now I feel like we have a sense of your soil and the sense of this root and where you're coming from creatively. And I'd love for us to drift up into the beautiful orange of the sacral chakra and this energy center that's related to passion and sensuality and delight and pleasure. I know that this is a center I feel that we are very connected over. Like, we love to talk about sacral themes in our lives. For me in this moment, I think the question that feels juiciest is just, what is your biggest source of creative pleasure right now? What about the creative process or your creative life feels the most pleasurable?
I think there's so much beauty and joy in the amateur, which just means like amateur, like the roots of the word amateur just mean love. I can't not talk about melodic-erotica on here.
Here we go! Here it comes. Tell us about melodic-erotica.
It feels so important to me, even though I've done like all of this work in my grad program and been putting together all of these meaningful plays and performance pieces. The highlight of my year has been the silliest 3-person melodica performance that was put on very last minute, not for school, for an event that my friend was opening at a new sort of art gallery, co-working space, artistic music venue space. We were asked to do like a performance, and I was asked if I could put together a performance, and he just knew, like, my friend just knew I did theater, and he's like, yeah, can you just throw together a little, like, performance piece? And I didn't want to ask too many questions. I was like, I'm just going to take that and run with it. Like, I'm being given a platform. I'm going to put something on that platform. And I roped in 2 of my friends, and we came up with this whole, we like learned how to play these melodicas and learned a song and then did these ridiculous dances. It was like high school assembly. It wasn't high production value. It was silly, it was ridiculous, and that was the whole point of it, is we're like, let's just like disrupt what we consider to be worthy and art and just bring some frivolity to it. And we did. And people really enjoyed it because it was silly and sexy. This was a very amateur performance. And it meant so much, and it filled our cups past the brim to the point where we're like, we need more cups to fill. We're overflowing, and now the ideas are just coming.
We need more melodic.
We need more melodic content. We're like, we need a calendar, we need an Instagram page, we need to start like doing guerrilla theater where we like go out to places and just perform in the streets and perform in unexpected venues. We gotta take this to the stars. This is just the start.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too that those two other friends have other day jobs that are not in the art sector, and a lot of my classmates in this theater MFA program have no capacity to create art outside of the program. And so I'm finding so much joy in collaborating with people who are like quote unquote non-artists but love art and want to reclaim that title of being an artist. And so there's something really delightful about the amateur because it's so unpretentious as well. I think it's important to give love to all the amateurs and all the people that are just stepping into their artistic identity. Because those are the people with the fucking ideas.
That's what I was just gonna say.
And the excitement and the passion. Yeah. And they're like, let's fucking make this. I want to stay up to 3 a.m. on a Tuesday dancing around our apartment with melodicas because that feels important.
And the amateur can bring that level of frivolity, as you were naming, to the creation, right?
Yeah.
They have that beginner's mind, and in art, I think that beginner's mind can be valuable just as it is in our meditation practice, right? Like we start over again, and that is actually the mark of a true master, is someone who can return again to beginner's mind over and over again and really feel and know and live into the absolute unknown newness of every moment, whether that's creatively or otherwise. The amateur knows that aspect best, and I certainly think there's something to that, Ren. That's beautiful.
The amateur is the real master.
Yeah, I like flipping that on its head, right? Yeah, if you're in touch with newness, you have a leg up. So, is there anything else that feels important to explore when it comes to themes of like passion or sensuality that you want to speak about and how those have played into your creative path?
For me, joy is the indicator of whether I'm in alignment or not, whether the art that I'm doing is right or not. If I'm not enjoying and laughing throughout the process, something is amiss for me. And even if I'm working on something serious, the joy still informs the passion. So yeah, like underneath passion and sensuality, like joy and play really drive that. And so I'll feel it in my body if something feels right, if I'm in the right direction of what I want to be making, because it should be enjoyable. And that feels like enjoyment feels different for everyone. But I've been really like wondering lately, what kind of art exactly am I trying to make? Like what stories am I trying to tell? And while I don't have all of those answers, I know I want to enjoy making the work. To me, that is the divine speaking through me and saying, yes, like this, that's my intuition being like, this is something that is worthwhile and it's calling to you because it's sparking your joy. And if I'm playful, that means I'm energized, it means I'm passionate, it means I'm also in touch with my eros. And I know what it's like when I'm not playful, and I don't like that version of myself. And usually it's if I'm stretched too thin or something, if I'm doing something for the wrong reasons, or I've committed to something that isn't really me, but I'm like, okay, I have to just finish this project now, or just make this thing because I started it. I'm all in favor of abandoning. I don't think we need to finish everything. That's a hot take, but I don't think we owe that to anyone. The quote, I'm committed to truth, not consistency. And truth is always shifting. And relevancy is always shifting, and what brings us joy is always shifting. So even if you start a project and it brings you so much joy at first, if something shifts and it's like no longer serving and the passion is just like no longer there, I don't think that's something that necessarily needs to be finished. It should be examined. Like, we shouldn't just stop things when they get hard. And it's important to finish certain things, and often like the final leg of finishing is the least fun part. It's like the polishing, and it does require work. Yeah, exactly. It's not like the playful part is often the beginning and the ideating and the discovering, and then comes the labor of needing to like really execute on that. And like a lot of craft comes in and supersedes the art, where it's okay, now we need to use the tools to make this presentable. And at least for like theater, like, well, if we're devising something with actors, we spend weeks just like creating and improvising. It's really fun, and then the last leg of that process is all about the tech and the lighting, and it's way more meticulous. So I'm not saying just to abandon projects because they're hard, but making sure your why is there the whole time. And if that's there, then I think the joy should still be able to get threaded through the whole process, even if it's like a bit of a delayed reaction joy, or like type 2
type 2 fun. Yes, I was totally
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm usually the one when my friends are like, should I quit my job? Like, before I even hear about it, I'm like, quit. Just, if you're asking, quit.
Yes. If it's not a yes, it's probably a no.
If you're uncertain, that's really big data.
Yeah, it's big data. It's interesting, right? It's like the consent conversation that we often have. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Same goes for our creative pursuits, perhaps, or our...
Yes.
Yeah, or the way we spend our energy. And I think that using joy as a compass is such a huge piece here that I really want to like zoom in on. And I think that you are someone in my life who's inspired me so much to follow joy and to move closer to joy as a muse. The more joyful we are, the happier we are, the more inspired we can become, the more connected we are to ourselves and others. And I think that's a really beautiful compass. And also like the way that I've always seen the sacral, when I visualize it in my mind's eye, I know this is maybe silly, but it's not silly. By this point, anyone who's listened to this podcast knows that I usually see things before I am able to say them in words, and I have to translate from an image. But anytime I'm in the sacral, I can see these like seeds being cast out over the earth, and the seeds know as they're being cast that the casting is what matters rather than the fate of the seed itself, if that makes sense. Like, it's the fact that we are throwing the creative impulses or the creations out into the world that is significant, instead of getting very overinvested in the protection and cultivation of one seed necessarily. And it's interesting too, because like in talking about melodirotica, right, like you had no attachment to melodirotica becoming anything, and that is almost what has made it so powerful. So I think that there's something to that. There's something to casting a variety of creative seeds out into the world and just following which one feels joyful and leaning into that.
Yeah, I like that metaphor a lot, because when you plant a garden, you understand that not all of the seeds come to fruition. Like, they don't all germinate. And that's even written on seed packets. Like, here's the germination rate. And so there's like an expectation that not everything you plant is going to grow, and that it's the dispersal that is where you should be putting your energy, and then you let the earth do the rest. You cannot try to control what grows and what doesn't, because that is just like beyond our forces.
There was something I was listening to yesterday that was interesting to this effect, which was to increase your failure rate is to increase the speed of your eventual success. So if you are
Ooh.
someone who is willing to repeatedly fail and try again and fail and try and fail, you're getting to the point of eventual success faster. And I think that that comes back to like your experimental nature as a scientist first. Like, you're someone who is not afraid to put two things together and see how it goes, and to tinker with something and to try again and again in slightly different ways. And I think I can imagine that's really serving you as a theater director.
Yeah, we really do learn way more from our failures than from our successes. I'm thinking about various projects that I've done in grad school and how the ones that I failed the hardest in that's like where I've learned the most. And where I've been successful, it's okay, I didn't really learn it, I just used what I already had and coasted on that, but it didn't make me better, it just affirmed me, which is nice to be affirmed sometimes. But yeah, failure is the biggest launch pad.
It's so interesting. I didn't even prompt it, and this seems to always happen on the podcast, but we're already really talking about themes associated with the solar plexus. We've already begun to drift up into this yellow space that is related to questions of confidence and identity and power. And I think that this motivation actually to continue forward through failure and with failure is such a theme of this energy center creatively. Like, how willing are we really to continue picking up and trying again as creatives, right, until we achieve something that is quote unquote finished. I think I'm curious, like, when it comes to this energy center, what is giving you power right now to keep trying creatively? I feel like the relationships you named.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, I am so emboldened and impassioned by my friends and loved ones who I think sometimes see me in a light I don't even see myself in all the time. But there's something more. Like, I'm trying to understand it. I'm gonna share a story.
Please.
Deep childhood story.
Here we go.
Big core wound childhood bullying story.
Okay.
But it's important and it will contextualize everything. So when I was in middle school, I was bullied in what now seems like such a cliche way, like a way in movies that you're like, people don't actually get bullied like that, but I actually did get bullied like that. So much name calling, and on my birthday in the cafeteria, when normally like your whole grade of 200 kids will sing happy birthday to you, my whole like 7th grade class booed me. It was like the worst nightmare you can think of as both a kid and an adult and a performer. Oh, what's the worst that happens? Oh, I get on stage and they boo me. I literally have a room full of kids booing me, and it's such a clear memory because it was probably only 5 seconds before like teachers like stepped in and shut it down. But those 5 seconds were like this endless portal in which I like died. Like, my ego died. I think I experienced ego death at 12 years old, because as I like stood there receiving this, I also experienced invincibility, where I was like, whoa, this is the worst thing that could happen, and I'm still standing here, and somehow none of this can hurt me. It's like I feel so powerful. And I think that's why I don't have a lot of social shame. Like, straight up, I do things that would maybe be cringy to other people. Like, just the way, honestly, like, I won't pluck any of my chin hairs or my like mustache hairs. I know you're just like listening to this podcast, you can't like see my face, but like Quincy can confirm, like, I have chin hairs. Tell him.
You got chin hairs.
I got chin hairs. And I...
By the hairs of your little chin.
I feel this stubbornness where I'm like, I don't care how that's perceived. Like that can't hurt me. However, like, I don't care if people fucking boo at me because I'm not conforming in that way. That experience as a kid has emboldened and empowered me to be pretty socially brave and go on stage and perform stand-up and I'm not going to say be fearless, like it's always anxiety inducing performing no matter what, but the fact that I'll do it at all and really put myself out there, I'm not afraid of social rejection because I've already faced it and I lived.
Wow.
So
got that out of the way early.
Yeah, I got it out of the way early. Social rejection is not scary to me. I'm scared of falling down a ladder. That's when I'm like the biggest scaredy cat ever, and I'm like,
what the fuck was that?
It was my Google Home, just a man's voice in the apartment. Oh God.
Please.
Oh my God.
Have mercy.
We're vulnerable right now. We're like blindfolded in my bed.
Oh my God. Am I going to keep this in the podcast? Probably.
Wow.
Jesus.
I'm shaken up. Power's gone. The container's been broken.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I hope that answers the question about power.
Definitely.
I think I just get a lot of power from feeling liberated from a certain social ball and chain that most of us wear in different forms all the time. I'm not going to claim that I don't care what anyone thinks about me. Like, I totally care still how I'm perceived. That affects me. But I kind of like challenging and shaking things up, and I'm not afraid to be the clown.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid for my art to provoke.
It's high risk, high reward, I think. Because when you're blasting a really specific frequency out into the universe, you're going to deter a lot of people away, maybe push a lot of things away that are not for you. You're going to get some boos, but you're also going to get some big yeses. Yeah. And those yeses are going to bound into your arms with such certainty, and I think that's really happened for you. The people in your life who love you so much. So, it's beautiful.
And also, there's a lot of power that has come from just experimenting with the very notion of power and what I'm capable of. When 3 years ago, I did not identify as an artist. Like, I was still very much in the outdoor ed youth facilitation sphere. And when I realized that I think I needed to make this big pivot, I decided to just do a little social experiment with myself where I said, okay, what if I just decided I am now a theater director, and I just said that to people. I just told people I'm a theater director, and what would happen if I just put it out there in the universe? And I went around to theaters being like, I'm a theater director and I'm looking to direct plays, and all of a sudden I was directing things. They're like, oh great, you're a theater director.
Great.
There's no one asked for my qualifications.
So claiming an identity.
Yeah. And just being really confident with it.
I think that's another way that you've really had an impact on me in my life. Is this capacity that you have had to claim things or be like, yeah, that's for me. I will identify and step into that role. Watching you make this transition from being outdoor ed Ren, teaching Ren, into director Ren.
I did this with dance too. I just decided that I was tired of saying I'm a bad dancer. I was tired of being a bad dancer. I had just carried this limiting belief for so long that I can't dance, and it was just it just wasn't serving me. And once you see that something is a limiting belief and you see how flimsy the belief is, you're like, oh wait, this actually has no legs. And it helps. Moving really helps to create new identity for yourself. I moved so much in my 20s, and had I stayed in one place, I wouldn't have been able to shed and take on new identities so quickly.
Ooh,
because
yes.
people would have seen the old version of me. But moving has allowed me to step into new identities and just decide something new about myself. And the people I meet, that's all they know of me. They don't know a version of myself that wasn't that way. So when I moved to Seattle just in September, I decided that I dance now and that I'm confident dancing and that I do contact improv now. That was a big thing. I did ecstatic dance and bend, but I never made contact with people, and I was so in my head about it. And I would watch other people, and I remember this one woman, I don't even know her name, and it brought up so much comparison mindset where I was like, why can't I interact like that on the dance floor? Why can't I move so freely like that? Why is my movement so constrained? And as soon as I start dancing with someone, I just feel like an uncoordinated child again. And seeing this woman and noticing the comparison mindset that came up, I started to shift the comparison mindset, or I started to reframe it into an inspiration mindset, where I was like, okay, rather than say she has that and I don't and I'll never have that, she has that and I can have that too. She has that and I want some of that, and I'm gonna move towards that, and I'm just gonna hold that in my mind as like she is future me. That is who I am becoming. Not I can't be that because that's already taken. I think we're always pulling from people and art. We're always just iterating and riffing on ideas that are already out there, and that's great. That's not copy. That's not plagiarizing. That's just allowing for inspiration and energy to propagate. So
that's so true and so refreshing. And I think we've shared this sentiment before, but this idea that we really are just these mosaics and reflections of everyone who we've ever admired. I think that is so true, and I can see ways in which, having known you now for 3 years almost, which is such a gift. Oh my God. So many more. But seeing the way that we've taken on qualities of our beloveds and our friends. And
we're just a tapestry of our homies.
It's mad.
And even in art, I think I used to have, and still probably do have, somewhat of an originality complex where I'm like, oh, if it's been done, I don't want to do it. And if I would watch something and be like, okay, now I can never do that or anything like that because they have the rights to, or they have a monopoly on that. I don't want to reinvent something that's already been done. And in this grad school program I'm in, all my professors, when we go see shows, they're like, what do you want to steal from that? That's how you should be thinking as an artist. You should always be breaking things down into their elemental components and then using those components, not in the same arrangement that they were used in the production you saw, but taking techniques that they did. Oh, I want to do what they did with that lighting, but now apply it to a totally different context, or take that dance they did and experiment with it. It's what if I do it with these actors? And it's all about pulling from what is already out there. And that's just the elements of life. We have finite molecules on this planet. Everything is just constantly being broken down and recycled and reused again in new ways. So nothing is fully original. No person is completely original. But wait, let me circle back. I never finished me and dance in Seattle. I showed up to ecstatic dance. I didn't know anyone. And it's really nice sometimes to not know anyone. There's so much freedom.
Yes.
I encourage you, whoever's listening to this, one of my favorite things, and I'm aware this is a tangent, I will return to dance in a second. I swear. Going on a solo, going out in a social space alone. Not just we go out all the time alone. We go about our lives and get groceries and do things on our own, but go to a social event on your own where you don't know anyone and you get to be anyone, and it's so freeing. It's so empowering and it's scary too, because there's a lot of stigma around oh, why is that person alone? Do they not have their friend group? And you have to like battle that societal shame of, oh, I'm all alone and everyone else is here at this concert with their friends, but I'm just gonna go talk to people. I'm just going to like interact in this world solo. We're constantly moving through the world, but we're not always interacting with it. I go to ecstatic dance in Seattle, and he danced in a way I've never danced, just because, and I felt so free with my body. And I was like, okay, I have nothing to lose. I don't know anyone in this space. If I make a total fool out of myself, I'll just like never come back. And I remember this one girl coming up to me and being like, I'm so amazed with how you dance. I wish I could dance like that. And I was like, dude, you literally can. Like, I don't, this is all just new for me. And the only thing that has changed is me deciding I can do it. And you have to like believe that you can with your full body.
I have to say, I resonate so much with the magic of moving to different places, or in my case, like being more nomadic. It has been so incredibly liberating to be in all of these different spaces and be able to continually like evolve myself. Mm-hmm. And also redefine myself in each of these spaces as I grow and change throughout my 20s, to be able to undergo those rapid evolutions and shifts. If you're able to move, it's so good.
Yeah. And even if you're not moving geographic locations, even just a new place in the same city you're in, it is a major shedding event when you like pack up all your things and move somewhere different. Even if it's the same city, you're confronted with your full inventory, both physical and emotional / energetic, and it is an opportunity to do away and downsize with like anything that doesn't serve you, and then be really intentional about how you're going to start the new chapter. It is like a very literal turning over of a new leaf.
Wow, I love that. As someone who is literally in your home right now with everything in 2 suitcases that I need for like foreseeably for the rest of my life, I feel like you're speaking directly to me in all of this. I feel emboldened and empowered and inspired to move to New York now and really hold this wisdom that you're laying down with me. This is a turning over of a new leaf, and it's okay for it to be brand new. And in fact, it should be.
Yeah. And moving is hell.
It's so hard.
It's an excruciating, miserable process, but it is like what's the thing? The caterpillar goes into the... It's a metamorphosis. It's a chrysalis, and you go through a full metamorphosis.
Definitely in a chrysalis right now with all of this. I feel like you've been catching me in a lot of chrysalis moments in the past year.
Up until now, you've seen me in chrysalis, or up until Seattle, like the last year and a half. Because sometimes moving, like that can be a stage in and of itself. It's not always one moment you are here and then you are moved. Like I was in a transitional process for a full year plus of knowing I was going from one chapter to another chapter. And I don't recommend that. That was like a huge lesson I learned, is that it's not wise to like draw out transitions.
I think I'm learning that right now, in fact.
It's like when you buy a goldfish, like you don't want to keep it in the little...
Trying to go from one fish tank into another fish tank.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually so funny. As you were saying that, I had a flashback to a few weeks ago when I was in Bali and seeing this man on his motorbike who had a mobile fish shop. And he had like a bunch of tiny fish, goldfish, betta fish in bags on his motorbike. Probably not the most comfortable experience for those fish. So maybe
it's the ride of their lives.
Exactly. And yet
like the ride of their 8-minute lives.
Exactly. And yet it was the ride of their lives. So it's both it's the ride of your life to be in transition, and it's also a little uncomfortable. All right. We need to move into the heart, Ren.
We need to.
It's time to get to the heart of things.
I'm ready.
When I start talking about the themes of the heart, I really like to ask, what it is that you're devoting your creations to right now. What is it dedicated to?
I feel like it's dedicated to finding the answer to that question. I think I'm still really seeking a deeper dedication and a deeper cause. And right now in this program that I'm in, I'm like really learning how to make theater because I feel that there's like a bigger story I'm supposed to tell that hasn't come to me yet. That once I have the tools, I'm going to be able to like deliver something bigger into the world. But I know it's grounded in community and community action. And I know that my whole path into environmental sciences and conservation, like that wasn't a misled path. Like I went down that path for a reason. Like something called me so strongly, and I do feel that a part of my dharma is to protect these wild spaces, and I don't yet exactly know how I want to create theater around that, but I know that has to be a part of it. There is this calling to make theater that awakens people or something in people and connects us to something deeper.
Yes.
Because the way I'm relating to my friends right now, I don't feel that it's the way the world is engaging with itself, but this is available to everyone, and I really do just want to deepen the capacity for love and for connection and for understanding and working through conflict. So I'm really compelled by theater that's super raw and that leaves the audience saying, damn, they went there. And like that needed to be said, or visibility needed to be brought to that.
Wow. Whoa, this is really interesting because what you just said is leading me like right up to a question I was dying to ask you.
Oh, ask me.
Maybe a slight framing needs to be done.
Okay.
Which is, we talk all the time about the shadow or shadow work.
Yes.
And I'm curious if there are what Julie Cameron calls in The Artist's Way, these creative monsters that are hiding in your closet. What I want to ask is if there are any parts of self or characters from your past that haunt you creatively that we can offer forgiveness to in this moment.
When you say haunt creatively,
yeah, I think keep you from saying what it is you want to say, or keep you from being able to access your deepest power or truth. And maybe we can even explore this visually. So if you like see your creative sovereignty as this like glowing, beautiful green gem of your heart, and you start moving towards that, what moves in between you and that?
It's definitely a part of myself that says to stop taking up space, that says you don't have anything of value to share. Like your story's not important, and even if you find someone else's story that's important, you're not the best person to tell that story, and that there's someone else who could do a better job with that, and that I'm just actually doing more damage than good in this world. And I think it's just out of fear of bringing harm to the world and
wanting to tread lightly.
Yeah, wanting to tread lightly, wanting to be mindful of just like my positionality, and wanting or just fearing that in the process of trying to do good that I actually do the opposite. It's like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So yeah, the irony of wanting to create a piece of theater around an environmental issue, and that takes place inside of a theater, and there's all these resources that are used and the program, like it all just actually ends up being a very wasteful expenditure. So just like things like that, where it's, am I actually doing good, and like a very critical voice that says, if you actually wanted to maximize your social impact, you would go into policy, go into like environmental policy or like politics. Like there's a voice that sometimes says, you're selfish for being an artist. And that's where I think about the Ikigai, which is a framework for honing in on your dharma, your purpose, and how it's at the center point of, it's like what you're good at, what you can get paid for, what the world needs, and what you're passionate about. And the world needs so much, and it also just happens that the thing I'm passionate about and the thing I'm good at is making art, which I do think is what the world needs too. But it's just tricky to balance when the things, at least like right now, that the world needs feels like, oh, I need to be actually like putting money towards causes. Like the same amount of money costs to create a play. Would it be better served to just give the money somewhere direct? Am I deluding myself into thinking I'm doing something good for the world, but I'm actually just doing what brings me joy, and then patting myself on the back?
Yeah, I just want to ask like maybe a challenge to you, because maybe I'm also deluded in this, and I often find myself with a very similar voice or opponent. I think when I want to come closer to my truthful expression, that's, oh, like, you're crazy, this is not actually useful, or a very similar like antagonist, let's say. That's, I know you intend to do well, and you might have good intentions, but you're not actually making any sort of real impact with any of this. I wonder if it creating a state of joy in you could alone be enough to make it worth it. Would you accept that as a reasonable outcome and a worthwhile outcome for your creative process?
Yes, I would. It would have to be joy plus like fervor.
Fervor.
Yeah, a sort of inspiration to act, like a call to action.
Yeah.
I would consider that piece successful for me, even if it just launched me to the next piece, or even if one person in the audience was inspired to take action through a series of ripples. Maybe it can't even be measured, but I think as long as it is catalyzing something that leads to the eventual catalyzation of another thing that like goes in that direction of the change that I want, then that is successful. But it also means as an artist, you never really see the impact you have on the world because it's not measurable and it's not immediate. And it's very rare that one art piece will change something in this world, but it will change people. It will change mindset, or it can change or lead to a change. You just can't, it's just imperceptible.
Yeah. Wow. It's so interesting. Again, it's happened that like we're already in the throat and talking about what we wish to communicate and express and what ripples we want to send out into the world with our art. These are the questions I was going to lead us through next. So I feel really just amazed at how this seemingly happens often on this podcast, where the themes of one energy center, the heart, lead into the themes of the next, the throat. And we already find ourselves exploring this question of communicating our artistic idea or communicating our creative work out into the world. And I'm really struck by this idea that we need only really impact one other person and like to send a positive cascade out into the world and to really affect the field around us. And to me, that's been really an important remembrance over the last few months as I begin to create this podcast, of course, but also like the other things that I'm creating, to remember that if I teach a class and 3 people show up and I improve the days of those 3 people and they feel more creatively inspired, or they begin to feel more creatively liberated, and then they create something that inspires someone else, we cannot know the way that we exponentially affect the world around us. That's how the universe works.
Yeah. It's like how when we were both working in wilderness therapy, we never got to see the real impact we had on the students that went through our program. Like, sure, we saw how they might change during the course of the program, but then they disappear into the world, and we never know what they become and how what we imparted onto them gets propagated through the world. Like, we just have no idea, but we know in that moment that there's a spirit moving through us to deliver truth. And I've had moments with a student where I'm like, I don't know how that will land for you and when you will receive that, if ever, but I know that what we shared was powerful and beautiful and true.
Yeah.
And I think art is the same way. I don't know how this will be received. I don't know what impact this will have, but all I know is that this is what is true.
As you like run your fingers back over maybe the last few years, maybe your life, I'm not sure how far back this question will reach. If there is a conversation that you've had with someone that has fueled your fire and emboldened you to step into your creative power, or inspired you even, or created safety for you, or permission.
Oh, there's so many. I'm thinking of a lot of my professors, and like a very similar piece of wisdom continues to get shared with me over and over again by so many different people. And it's the advice is just make the damn thing. Like, don't wait for the invitation, don't wait for the money, don't wait for the space. Just start making it. Even if you don't know how, especially if you don't know how, just start. If you have the impulse, let it start to roll. Don't be like, oh, I have to I'll keep this idea for when I have all of the resources to make it happen. I'll wait till I have a stage to do this on. No, fucking do it in your house. Do it. Do it in an alley.
Yes.
Just let the idea express itself by whatever means necessary.
Yes.
Even if it's not the most beautiful, polished version of it, even if it's not the highest quality.
Yes.
That's not what it's about.
I think this is so key. Inspiration has an expiration.
Yes.
And if you don't act on something when you feel inspired to do it, it will fizzle out and die, and it's tragic to think about. Or we can think about it in the way that Elizabeth Gilbert frames it in Big Magic, where she says, if you're not available to receive this download,
someone else will
receive it. And that's maybe adding a layer of competition or something like this.
Yeah.
But I really do think that's very true. Yes.
Yeah, the idea will die, or if you document it, if you make sure to keep a list of ideas that are simmering for you, but maybe you really just don't have the capacity to execute on them. If the idea is powerful, if it's a salient idea and continues to be relevant, it'll still call to you. I have some ideas written down from a long time ago where I'm like, yo, that still holds up. That's still I will still make that. Because while I would love to say every impulse that comes to you, just make it, not everything can get expressed right away. Some things do need things in place that maybe you don't have in place, or you you're looking for a collaborator because it can't be made alone. So if you have the means to make it, even if you feel like you don't have all the means, you should still make it. But I don't necessarily agree that inspiration or that an idea will die if you don't make it immediately. Sometimes that is a good test of an idea, is okay, put it in the parking lot and look at it in a few months, and is it still equally juicy?
Yeah, I like that. I didn't know where we were headed with put it in the parking lot. I was like, in 3 months, is it still a car? Or
that's something my professor says. She's like, put in the idea parking lot. Because I get feedback a lot that I'm always trying to combine my ideas and like mixing metaphors, and I will try to squeeze in all these ideas into one project instead of just trusting one simple idea and not trying to complicate it by like layering on other competing ideas.
Yeah.
So my professor will be like, just pick one of those ideas and put the rest in the parking lot.
I think all of this about, you know, dialogue and feedback that you're getting the opportunity to engage with in your program is so related to this energy center. You are really, in this moment, as an MFA theater directing student, being asked to clarify your expression and then have it available for feedback and make yourself available for feedback and to listen well. You're in a lot of dialogue creatively right now, which is really rich. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of conversation. Okay, so you can begin to embrace the third eye center, the space between the eyebrows with your awareness, and this is beautiful indigo color. And here we're dealing with themes of intuition or insights or inspiration. But I want this to just be in keeping with the theme of creative joy. I just want to give you an opportunity to like rapid fire dream about 5 or 10 things that you'd really like to create in your life, and it can be totally random, not necessarily related to theater, but just like 10 things, big or small, you're interested in creating.
I still want to make potty planters. A really good idea. It's basically a toilet tank lid that is meant to hold water plants, because there's all this water that's just sitting there in the tank of your toilet, and you could have plants growing there, and it works. I've grown plants. It's very cool. Watch Shark Tank to see me on there with potty planters. It's coming. Dude, have I told you about the reality TV show I want to make?
No.
I never thought I would like want to make a reality TV show, but I'm telling you, there's something to this idea that I can't let it go. Same format as like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, but whoever's the Bachelorette never actually gets to meet the contestants. They meet their friend group and basically just date their friend group.
Amazing.
And it's like and then the friend groups picked would have to be very different from each other. And I think even just like in Seattle alone, I'm like, there's so many pockets of people. There's so many squads that do totally different things for fun. And the idea of you getting to watch different communities and get insight into how people recreate with each other and what different...
I would love to watch that.
Yeah, I think it'd be entertaining. Mm-hmm. And then the contestants just learn about the person through their friends, and like their friends will like really gas them up but it's basically like whichever friend group they get along with would be
and enjoy hanging out with.
Exactly.
It's a pretty good way to date.
I think so too, because like the homies are everything. Mm-hmm. If you want to be my lover, gotta go with my friends. I've definitely told you about this idea before, but I want to make a magic school bus musical for adults that follows the trajectory of the kids of the magic school bus all grown up, reuniting at their like 20th high school reunion, only to find they've all completely lost their sense of imagination. And it's just all about like, how do we as adults reignite our childlike sense of play and wonder and curiosity. And I want it to be like a very like techno musical. I want Melodirotica to become an official experimental performance group. And I want us to like really disrupt spaces and complicate the idea of what it means to disturb the peace. Take a place like the DMV. What is the experience of infusing art into a space that is so depressing and boring and like kind of an irritable place for a lot of people?
And also, what does it mean? What are the ethics of subjecting people to art who don't consent to that? So that is where like the experimentation comes into things. Like I really want to run a lot of social experiments like that. And I really want to create a piece of devised theater that asks, what do we do with our shit when there's no more room left under the rug? And looking at that on a personal scale of what do we do with our personal, emotional shit, all the way up to the environmental scale. What do we do with our trash when there's no more space in landfills? So those are a few ideas right off the dome.
Awesome. I'm so excited to see, of course, like as we cast all of these seeds out, we can't really know which of them will germinate. We don't know what the germination rate is. And I love knowing that I can observe over the next 30 plus years everything that comes to germinate for you creatively and beyond, I'm sure. But that's just a really beautiful thing to wonder about.
Will potty planters germinate?
Exactly. I'm sure it will.
Please do not steal this idea. People listening, like, do not steal that idea from me. Actually, you can. I just want potty planters to exist. Even if I don't make it, that can exist. But don't take the other ideas. But also, I have so many complicated feelings around ownership of creative property and ideas. And yeah, it's just a very crazy concept to try to copyright certain forms of intellectual property that really just can't be owned because the idea is so much bigger than us. Yeah, anyways, that could be like a whole other episode of the podcast.
And it shall be. And it shall be. So, this was coming up for me, this question, the other day as we explored your beautiful workshop about creative impulse. And the other day, Ren led this ecstatic, expressive, beautiful workshop all about the creative impulse and how we sense creative impulse, or how we sense the impulse to move or to express and what we do with it, and what that looks like in individual setting and partner settings and group settings. It was this beautiful exploration that ended in like an ecstatic group trance experience where we were all mirroring each other as a group and in like rapture. It was an incredible workshop. And the question that kept coming up for me that I want to explore as we float up into the crown chakra, this space that has everything to do with unity and oneness and completion. The question that kept coming up for me was, where does this impulse come from?
I know, right? I think that's part of the faith piece for me, where I'm like, that is where there just is this divine presence, because some ideas really just can't be conceived in the mind. They're discovered from like an external channel.
Yeah.
And I think the collective conscious is where a lot of like divinity is housed. Like I think it's almost like a giant brain, and that a lot of what at least I feel like I'm trying to channel is coming from the collective conscience, where I'm like, what is in the like shared brain of our species right now?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily mine, but like I can access it because I'm part of the web.
Yes. And this is so beautiful because it comes back full circle to like the original thing I wanted to discuss with you on the podcast, which was how we explore the universal when we fully and with rawness and with devotion and commitment tell the story of the specific. We can begin to touch the universal.
Yes, it's like a fractal, and if you draw it very specifically and in detail, that allows you to zoom in or out, and like the pattern will keep going. But being really clear about what the shape is, or like what one's personal story is. If you can tell a very specific story, this is why I love children's books. Like, they just go for one like moral, right? They just go for one certain, like when you give a mouse a cookie, for example, it's like such a specific story. A mouse that gets a cookie and then it wants more, and it almost seems like completely unrelatable. It's so niche that no one can relate to that experience of giving a mouse a cookie. But like the shape of that story is something we all know. Like the lesson of that speaks to everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, when you give an inch, they take a mile. I was working on a piece, it was like a solo piece for a documentary theater class I was in, where I'd interview my mom, and I wanted this piece to be about like mother-daughter relationships, and I kept having this urge to want to make it really vague, because I'm like, I want this to be relatable to any mother and daughter, so I don't want to include too many specifics about my relationship with my mom, because then I'm going to lose the audience. My professor was like, no, it's the exact opposite. You need to be really specific about your relationship with you and your mom. Tell very particular stories. Don't try to generalize it or talk in ambiguities. Like, the more specific you are, people will relate to that. They might relate in their own ways. Like, they might not have that exact experience, but you'll capture something so specific that is part of a bigger fractal.
I have so much to learn from you in the ways of mining story and asking good questions, and it's such a privilege and an honor to get to podcast with you for that reason.
I have so much to learn. Like, the more I learn there is to learn.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a voice that I'm so behind. Like, I should have been studying this since the age of 5. Like, I started at 30 learning all of this, and it'll take me a whole lifetime to catch up. And I think I could have started at age 5 and still feel this way, that there is like endless amounts to learn.
Yeah. And there will always be. But I'm so glad you started when you did. And thank you for, moving towards that wisening and moving towards the truth, even though you could have talked yourself out of it because it's quote-unquote too late. I really admire that you went for it and that you said, you know what, no, I'm going to go be a theater director now, and had the bravery to choose the path of joy and to follow joy as your compass. Okay, Ren. Okay. Anything else you want to share before we go back into the light, before we move towards the light?
Before we light up. I'll share a technique that has worked very well for me as someone who's a bit of a procrastinator. If I don't have a deadline, or if I don't have external accountability, I tend to not get the thing done. And I only recommend this to procrastinators, I think, because it can be a bit painful and challenging, but I have had a lot of success with advertising things that don't exist yet as a way of needing to bring them into existence. Like, I reached out to facilitate this workshop before I had a workshop to share, and I wrote a description for a workshop that did not exist yet, that I had not yet created, but trusted that I would be able to create it. And once that accountability was there, once it's like, oh shit, okay, now I have a date and people are coming, then it has to exist. That is how plays work. There was a poster for the play I directed, and there was a link online to buy tickets before we had even cast it. Before there was any semblance of a show. It was already starting to exist just through it being advertised and called into existence that way. So even though it's like really scary, you have to like battle a lot of imposter syndrome to promote something that doesn't exist yet. And then there's a bit of panic of, oh fuck, now I gotta make this thing. Why have I done this to myself? It's effective.
Yeah.
Just bringing it back to Melanoerotica for a second. Before we had assembled our 3-person show for this art event, we were asked for like a description, and we're like, okay, we're creating, like, our theme is like an exploration of like utopia and dystopia, and we're gonna be doing some AI stuff, but like none of it had existed yet. And on the poster for the event, sorry, it was just so funny when we all read the poster, and we just died laughing when we saw the advertisement that was like under our event description, which was like a unique interactive theater experience unlike any other. And it was like a really big, lofty description of what we were doing, and we're like, we need to like deliver on this now. We have to do that. And not that we even have to, now we get to. Like, our work is cut out for us now. Because we have the destination and the compass heading, and we just have to like move from A to B now.
I totally had so much joy doing that, and also have experienced similar feelings of imposter syndrome with that. Like, specifically in my workshops at Burning Man, like having 3 workshops on the schedule and knowing, okay, I'm probably gonna have 20 or 30 people show up to take this workshop, and I only have the name in the description, and I have to create this. And those ended up actually being the best possible workshops they could have been, because I did not overthink them or toil or get so tense on pushing people through a mold, and instead I allowed them to come and bring their whole selves, and that is what informed the way that the workshop unfolded ultimately. Is what people were bringing in present moment versus some preconceived thing that I wanted them to get out of it. Like, it was much more informed by the reality of what was than what I wanted it to be, or what I wanted the outcome to be, which was so valuable.
Thank you so much for having me,
Quincy.
I love you.
Thank you so much. You're so
Thank
brilliant.
you so much. This is so special. I love you.
Thank you for journeying with me into the fertile void on the Vision Seed podcast. As we emerge from this space, it's my hope that the whisper of inspiration may take root and aid you in your creative path. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share it, leave a review, and follow along with us on social media. Until next time, keep dancing in the dark and cultivating the seeds of your creative vision. Bye-bye.